And welcome back. Here we are at St. Aubrey again. So I'm looking at my script rating board here. Not everyone has this board, but it's very useful to have since it shows not only the number of scripts you have, but also the memory usage. And this is critical here, the CPU time. If you don't have one of these, you can go and check Avatar Health scripts right here. And it will give you, well, 2 out of 3. You get the memory usage and the number of scripts, kind of. This is 11, and you don't really see that. So I guess you just get the memory used. But it will at least help somewhat. To demonstrate the difference, if I go to, say, my club avatar, the biggest difference is this avatar has a number of attached HUDs. It has an AO, which I have on now. There's a HUD here, there's one over here, there's one here. And you can see the difference is pronounced. We're at 2.5, and then the CPU time is quite a bit higher. If you don't want to be a cat, that's understandable. What you can do is create a travel version of yourself. And so I've created versions that I indicate with the term minimal. And when I switch to minimal, it's the same body, and the clothes or whatever I want to make them, of course, but you can see there are no HUDs attached. It's important that you detach the HUDs because if you reattach them, even if they're off, they will contribute to all of this stuff. So for our purposes of trying to cross sims well, you do not want them attached at all. It just simply will not matter whether they're on or off. You just don't want them attached. So this isn't bad. We're in the yellow, which is okay. I've got a little bit more in terms of memory usage. So I'm going to go back to the previous avatar, which was even better. Now the best one I have is invisible avatar here, which has 0. Invisible avatar is basically just a system avatar that has a full body alpha. So you can see the numbers here are what they call perfect. So there's only one script running, which I think is the bridge. And very low in terms of memory use and CPU time. So let's just go ahead and use that avatar, which is nice to have. I'll get rid of the board now. And the next thing you're going to do is you'll take a look at your vehicle. I think this only works with Firestorm, so you got to have more script info. And what comes up is the number of scripts. So we've got a lot, but the critical number that we're looking for is the milliseconds of CPU time. This is very low, 0.066. Now that's quiescent, meaning that things are not actually running yet in the aircraft. But when we sit and turn the engine on, we'll get to see what the difference is. So let's just sit. We'll turn on the engine. I'm going to adjust my sit position a little bit. That's probably good. So when I turn the motor on, which I have to wait for it to warm up. If we look at the same thing now, it's still pretty good. Still pretty good. We've gone physical now, so it must be more, but not too much. So let's just leave it at that, and we're going to taxi out to the runway. Let's put on our flaps. nav lights, landing lights. All right, here we are. I've just crossed into a new sim, and let's look at the script now. So you can see it's quite a bit higher. The reason is every time you come into a new sim, all that stuff has to be loaded. And so the more time we spend in the sim, it'll have a tendency to go down as it gets fully loaded. But this is still pretty good for an active aircraft. So this is the kind of number you're going to see with an aircraft that's optimized. It was about 1/4 of a millisecond. And I'm trying to keep it so it doesn't really exceed that, if possible. All right. Now the next thing is we're just going to increase our draw distance to right around 300 or so. And I'll just give us a little bit of a boost there. Gear up. And we're just going to get up and flying. Flaps up. And now let's do the other important thing when you're in an aircraft is to try to get high enough so that the ground textures are not relevant to this whole process. So I'm going to try to get up to about 300, which seems to be the sweet spot in the gear. Okay, there we are. So we're at about 300 meters. That's, I think, the sweet spot. And we'll go to pretty good afterburner. So at this point, we are doing about 50 meters a second. But the plane is able to handle that. I wouldn't be able to test the script load because we're not in the sims long enough to actually see the difference before you enter the next sim. So what I'll do is we'll go through a bunch of sims at this very high speed. It only takes a few seconds to go to the next sim. You can see as long as we try to keep around 300 or so, I'm keeping the afterburner, but I'm not going to full AB. As long as we're able to keep around 300 or so, let me just slow down and make some turns here. You can see the textures that would normally be really hammering us. They're far enough away that they just simply don't load, and that's exactly what you want if you want to try to avoid the issue of excessive texture loading affecting your travel gear and second life. And that's one of the secrets of doing quick sim crossing with boats and with aircraft is you want to try to get your draw distance and your altitude right. I can't do that with a boat, but what you can do is stick to the water sims and just try to stay away from areas where you're going to be inundated with a lot of textures. Okay, so we've kind of navigated our way through some of these sims now. Let's go back up to afterburner speed again. So now we're at about 45 meters a second. Now the display, it says knots, but that's really meters per second times 10, more or less. You know, it's a bit of a neighborhood thing. But here we are, and we're doing just fine. You know, these are speeds that people would normally consider to be just outside the realm of you know, good flying in Second Life. But it's okay because we've taken care of our various business in terms of the weight of our avatar, and we're trying to fly an aircraft that has a low script time. So let's just see what happens now. I'm going to put the flaps on. and slow us down. What happens if we look at our script info here? It's still pretty good. Now we just passed into the sim, and it takes a little time for it to get used to the new load. Well, now that I've got the flaps and I'm only at about 60% throttle, our speed is under 20 or under 20 meters a second. So let's just kind of hover in here a little bit with our airplane. And the more time I spend in this sim, in theory anyway, the lower that number will go. Yeah, it's already down almost to where we had it before, which was about a quarter, so not too bad. All right, let's get the flaps up, and we'll go back to higher speed. Still around 300 meters. I like to slow it down a little bit so I'm not pulling too many G's when I go through the turns, especially with the afterburner. You're going to have real wide turns, so I just cut the throttle a little bit for these turns. Now you can see I'm descending. I'm down to 200, and the reason is we're getting closer to our destination. So now the other thing is, if you watch out on the map, you can see you enter a place that has a bunch of avatars. Every time that you go into that sim, especially if the avatars are incredibly complex and they have a lot of scripts, it's going to cause slowdowns. So just bear that in mind. I'm always looking up here to see whether or not there's going to be a surprise. And suddenly there's a whole bunch of avatars in there, and well, you just don't want that. Not if you're trying to do the best possible sim crossing. So let's now get ready for landing. I like to use easy mode for landing because it kind of takes care of the need to try to self-center the aircraft as you're coming in. .98, not bad. Now let's just vacate the runway at the end here. So what did we cover today? It was pretty much, we're not really talking about configuring the viewer. We've kind of talked about that in the past. Configuring the viewer is one of the important things you need to do in order to get good results. So I'm using basically the same settings that I had for driving in the last video. Which is I'm only allowing 1024 resolution textures. I have a high setting, not ultra, but the draw distance, of course, is almost 300. We can lower that now because now we're on the ground. But mainly what we talked about today was the avatar and the aircraft. So the aircraft, now we've been in sim a little longer. It's already gotten below 0.2, And once we turn everything off, we'll turn the engine off and exit the aircraft. It'll go non-physical, and the various listens and other timers and things are going to stop. So the aircraft will basically enter a quiescent state at this point. Now you can't see my avatar because my avatar is my lowest load avatar. That's the one that had almost zero load. So the script time is, again, going down, and the more time that we spend here, the more it's going to settle, and it'll probably end up back below 0.1 like it was when we started. Our avatar, again, invisible avatar, which you can probably find this invisible avatar. All it is it's a full body alpha plus just some regular system avatar. If you look at the script load, it's almost none, and that works really well. I like to use these cat avatars that don't have an AO. So you can see I'm just using regular walk, stuff like that. But this is also very good for travel. So I hope this is helpful to you. And if you want to come test the Mirage, I have it at St. Aubrey. But there's a lot of airplanes that you can use to get this effect. Now, I don't know if they're going to go quite as fast. We were doing 50 meters a second quite easily. So not every plane's going to be able to handle that, but some planes can. So you can go fast if you take care of business. Okay, have a good day. See you next time.